Hello, welcome to the self-learning platform by Dr. Sushma Singh. Today we start Unit 23, Nationalism. And our topic is Contemporary Development, Nationalism vis-a-vis Ethnic Resurgence and Globalization. Since the Second World War, three developments have affected the concept of nationalism, which has been pointing to different directions. The first was a consolidation trend, which made the nation state the main source of political authority. The domination of the nation state, the most powerful form of political organization, has been extended by the virtue and of the colonial empires. There were 51 states in 1945, whereas by 1992 this number had gone up to 185. Moreover, the power of the national government in many new states, though shaky in the beginning, has been consolidated in the 1970s and 1980s, particularly in third world countries like Zaire, Nigeria, Malaysia, and Pakistan. The coming up of India illustrates one of the greatest virtues of the nation state as a form of organization, which can secure mass compliance of policies with only a minimum of coercion. The second development relates to ethnic resurgence. Along with the consolidation of the nation state, there has been a revival of minority nationalist movements claiming measures of autonomy within the state or even independence from it. Such conflicting trends have increased since the 1970s, when the UK saw the growth of nationalist parties in Scotland and Wales. France experienced demands for measures of cultural autonomy from groups in Britain and Corsica. Because nationalists wanted independence from Canada. Most recently, India and Sri Lanka are also facing problems of Kashmiri and Tamil nationalists, respectively, leading to a certain amount of bloodshed. After the disintegration of the USSR and the East Europe Communist bloc, ethnic resurgence has spread like an infection. The rise of separatist and ethnic agitations is partly due to the loss of group identity of certain minorities and partly due to the fact that principle of state creation since the Second World War had nothing to do with self-determination. The creation of new nation states was more because of the forces of decolonization, revolution, or intervention of outside powers. The result was that soon after the independence, tension developed between the component parts of the independence movement in countries like India, Algeria. Again, the intervention of outside powers had been obviously non-nationalistic. The split of Soviet Union into its constituent parts and the disintegration of Yugoslavia have shown that these states were imperfectly integrated. The third development relates to the process of globalization. During the last 2 decades, the world has become highly interdependent. Today, the nation state has to operate in an interdependent world. Information, money, weapons, technology, pollution, values, radiation, food, computers, drugs, disease, data all flow rapidly around the globe, giving the individual nation states more opportunities, but also posing more threat to their identity. Simultaneously, the role of international and super international organizations like UNO, the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, GATT, and non government organizations is increasing by leaps and bounds. In this connection, the past 2 decades have seen the emergence of a good deal of speculation about the possible transmutation of the nation state system into some kind of a new world order. The crucial question is whether we are moving common culture or whether globalization will strengthen a particular culture. Hobsbawm predicts that the future is not going to be contained within the limits of nation states, either politically, economically, culturally, or linguistically. It will be supranational. It will see nation states or nations in the being resisting, adapting, or being absorbed or dislocated by the new supranational restructuring of the globe. On the other hand, according to Birth, much of such speculation is based upon the wishful thinking. In spite of globalization and the quest for global culture, the current proliferation of struggles for self determination in several parts of the world indicate that even the democratic nature of the nation state and granting sufficient autonomy to the minorities within a nation state has not solved the problem, and the use of force still remains the key feature in the definition of nationalism. The role of nationalism as a mass movement has played a crucial role in the conscription of large armies and in the wake of war. Currently, the nationalism appeals to a wide-ranging sector of population and stands as a dynamic agent that relies on violence as well as promotes peaceful mass mobilization. In the context of globalization, the reluctance to give away sovereignty and loss of control over domestic matters will increase the presence of nationalism in the nation states political discourse. Here, a growth of contradictory forces can be seen. On the one hand, to participate in international forums and institutions and the search for the establishment of common policies with other members of the world community, and on the other hand, to protect the interest of the nation state. For example, the European Union has not reduced the preservation of the integrity and identity of the individual nation states. Contemporary nationalism uses tradition in the services of modernity. According to Turian, the nation is a known modern actor that creates modernity. Doubts and fragmentation are eminent in modernity because they are unexpected. The absence of a single officially sanctioned method of knowledge reflected a certain kind of fragmentation that differs from the one present in our time. The return to tradition emphasizes the value of continuity in the context where constant change and adaptation to new social, political, and technological environments determines the day-to-day life of the individuals. The concept of nation is rooted in pre-modern times and the perception of culture and language as products of the evolvement of a community over a period of time will retain their strong power to attract the individuals. Tradition will continue to be involved as a legitimatizing principle only in so far as it is constantly actualized. The new elements brought about by modernity will be incorporated into and mixed with the traditional forms of life. Globalization unleashes a pressing demand or identity among those individuals who regard the totality of inherited ideas, values, beliefs, and knowledge that constitute the shared basis of their lives as threatened by the expansion of alien cultures endowed with greater resources. In many cases, nationalism emerges as a response to progressive homogenization and represents a struggle to defend identity politics. Thus, though the process of globalization is intensifying, there is no global identity which would suit to fulfill the need of an otherwise diverse population. Thus, nationalism will survive the wave of globalization. Now, the summary of the unit. The above discussion on nationalism can be summed up as follows. Nationalism is a sentiment that has to do with the attachment to a homeland, a common language, ideas, values, and traditions, identification of a group with symbols such as flags, songs, etc., which make it different from others. The attachment creates an identity, and the appeal to that identity has a past and the power to mobilize the people. One of the most distinctive features of nationalism is its capacity to bring people together from different social and cultural levels. It is the invention of the ruling classes to maintain the unconditional loyalty of the masses and make them believe that they have much in common with the ruled. This is one of the basic factors in understanding the persistence of nationalism. A theory of nationalism has to deal with questions such as the concept of nationalism and the factors responsible for the involvement of national consciousness and national identity, the genesis and evolution of the ideas of nation in Western Europe, its diffusion worldwide, and the contemporary challenges to nationalism. The different theories of nationalism discussed in this unit try to resolve the mystery as to when the nation first appeared. The perennial theories concentrate on the history of nations, which are described as ancient and immemorial. They see the nation as a cultural community, rooted, organic, natural, and as a single whole. The modernist theory, whether social communication based, economistic, or politico ideological, see the nation as a political community, a modern and social construct designed for an age of revolution. They associate nationalism with movements like Renaissance, Reformation, commercialization, industrialization, urbanization, as well as colonialism and imperialism. Historically, the idea of nation state began in England, followed by Western Europe, such as France, Germany, and Italy. The formation of nation state in Eastern Europe led to the dissolution of three empires: Habsburg, Ottoman, and Asian, which resulted in creation of a number of states such as Poland, Czechoslovakia, Lithuania, Latvia, Romania, etc. The American Revolution created a new kind of nationalism, which meant severing old bonds and creating new ones. During the 20th century, anti colonial nationalism in Asia and Africa began with an instinctive and xenophobic hatred of imperialism, colonialism, racism, apartheid, etc. The post Second World War period saw the triumph of nationalism and the right of self determination of nationalism. This gave rise to a number of new nation states in Asia and Africa. Since the Second World War, three developments have affected nationalism: consolidation, fragmentation, and globalization. Up to 1970s, many states which had gained freedom after the Second World War had been able to consolidate their position. But along with that, there had been a revival of minority national movements and ethnic resurgence, both in the advanced countries like UK, Canada, France, and also in underdeveloped countries like India and Sri Lanka. And last but not the least, the process of globalization has been posing a serious threat to the national identity of the states. However, nationalism has been able to meet all these challenges and still remains the dominant force in the world. Here we want to wind up this lecture and we have come to the end of the unit. Thank you so much for your attention.